Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special meeting of council. I will ask, it is moved by Councillor Johnston, second by Councillor Hunter. Be it resolved that the special council meeting regarding the 2026 budget reconvene on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 at 9 a.m. And please vote on that, council. Okay, and that carries. Thank you. I will now go to Councillor Morphy for the land acknowledgement statement, please.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, we would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the First Peoples, who for thousands of years before us were and are still the keepers and caretakers of this land, where we now live and work, and in particular the Chippewas of Rama, Watamahuk First Nation, and the Moon River Métis. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. We recognize all the generations of Indigenous people and their historic connection to this place, and we are grateful for the opportunity to gather here at this time.
Thank you. Councillor, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the budget? Okay, seeing none, I will note that Councillor Jorgensen is joining us electronically this morning, and we have received regrets from Councillor Cairns. Okay, we're going to kick it off with new business. So I'm going to toss it over to the CAO, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're certainly excited to be assisting in presenting this this budget for 2026. So I thought I'd just provide a little bit of context as far as the presentations that you're about to hear throughout the day today. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Campbell and his team for getting us to where we are right now, and the rest of the staff that have participated. Mr. Campbell's first budget at the helm and as the treasurer for the town today, so we're thankful for him putting this providing leadership throughout this process. So as far as context for the presentations that you'll hear today. And as I described a couple of weeks ago on November 26th, when we tabled the budget, we're going to be relatively concise in our presentations here today for a few reasons. One is that the budget has been posted since early November, so over a month at this stage. So we'll present on the basis that the material has been read and understood. This, of course, is Council's fourth go at it in terms of municipal budgeting for this term. So we'll really try and focus our efforts as far as what we present on things that are new within this budget. I'd also note that we'll be concise as well because several decision points have already been made throughout the year. So a lot of those decision points play into what it is you see before you here today. And of course, there was the high-level overview that was presented on November 26th prior to the public meeting, which summarized what's in the budget, but also summarized what's not in the budget and why. So some of the justification for some of the things that are not in the budget include that it just simply isn't a priority just yet. It's not a no, it's not now. Some items just simply don't align with council's mandates as they've been decided on this year and previous years. Some items aren't our jurisdiction at all. One of the values of working within a two-tier government system is that you can apply initiatives or programs at a scale that's appropriate based on the tier that it's appropriate to if it's not the province. So in the instance where things are downloaded, we apply that jurisdiction to the appropriate tier of government based on the scale of affordability. So notwithstanding the conciseness of the presentations that you're about to hear today, we're certainly prepared to answer any questions that may come up throughout the proceedings. Aside from the fact that this budget is within the guideline that was established in August, I think SLT would describe this budget as one that balances ability at a time where costs are escalating, and they're escalating for everyone, and the municipalities are certainly not immune from that. So I'd also provide the context that the increases to the taxation increases over the last couple of years, I would argue, were basically negligible, especially when it comes to operating expenses. So in that context, I would argue that it balances affordability, continued investment in capital, and one that starts to catch us up from an operational standpoint after a couple of years of leanness for sure, especially in light of the community's growth that we've experienced. So a lot of what drives municipal budgeting is the strategic plan and other directives. Accordingly, in the document before you, we've highlighted accomplishments and initiatives that align with that document and those other directives. They're highlighted in green, which is a practice council should be familiar with from the previous few years. And really to sum up my preamble, administration very much treats this document as its business plan, as its working document for the 2026 year. And we are very excited to present this document to you here before you today. So with that, Madam Mayor, I think we can jump right into the list of items or list of departments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Lucas. Councillor Johnston?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the CEO. Just two questions before we start, CEO Lucas. You mentioned that the budget's been online for some time. My first question is, did we get any reaction from the public about the budget? And second question, just so I get it out, is I just remind the public again what the limit we set for the budget this year. Thank you.
Mr. Lucas?
Through you, Madam Mayor, as far as feedback, we received extensive feedback prior to the budget being posted. We opened up the Engage Gravenhurst platform and received feedback. We received a lot of feedback leading up to the tabling of the budget. But unless Mr. Campbell corrects me otherwise, we haven't received much in the way of feedback since it's been tabled. And your second question was around the guideline, I believe. The guideline that was presented in August was 8% minus assessment growth, which would, I believe the guideline after assessment growth was 7%. The number that's before you here today is 6.87%.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, we're going to roll right into the new business. And as we mentioned, we are going to be concise. So who is going to do I know we talked about community contributions, but we're going to do council first. So I'll go to Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the mayor to all of council, I'm happy to present the 2026 capital budget, operating budget for council. The budget is $337,550, which is an increase of $5,850, or 1.8% from 2025. The initiatives and success of council isn't really different than previous years. It's a relatively small budget. I did want to highlight that on the first page of 2026 initiatives, it is, of course, continuing to provide direction and follow through on the strategic plan documents and guiding documents that council have adopted over their term. And I just wanted you to see the long list of strategic guiding documents that this term of council has given direction to staff for your strategic priorities, and you'll see throughout the rest of the budget presentations and the budget in front of you that these plans are what are giving the action items for the rest of the projects that are happening in the budget priorities. That's really all I want to talk about for council. Council is, of course, your roles and responsibility to be advocate with other governments, building and sustaining connections in the community, and of course, providing that strategic direction and counsel to staff on your community priorities. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from council on the council budget? Okay, talk about concise and quick. I like to note for the public that Gravenhurst is one of the only councils in the region that didn't give themselves a raise this year other than the cost of living raise. So you can be rest assured that that's not in this budget. So pat on the back to all of us for that. So let's move on. Next, we have community contributions. And with that, I'm going to invite the chair of our precious little library up. A very valued partner in our community, and they do a lot with a little. So welcome to Karen Underwood. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Mayor Lawrence, Chair Strength, council members, member of the public. I'm Karen Underwood, Chair of the Gravenhurst Public Library. And our staff has worked diligently this year to provide all kinds of programming for all kinds of patrons and ages. And as a result, our library has remained a safe and friendly hub for our community. There's a few accomplishments I'd like to highlight over and above our excellent service. One is the expansion of our mobile makerspace with additions to robotics for the kids. And a makerspace, if you don't know what that is a creative, collaborative workspace that is on wheels and it can roll around. It can go to and it's gone to some of the schools. And they have things like 3D printers and sewing machines. Well, we don't have any. Lego, vinyl cutters, etc. Another accomplishment was the introduction of a Cloud9 reservation service that's supported by Envisionware, that's designed to allow patrons to book such things as computers, study room items from the makerspace, and send print requests. Another one is a coin card pay system that was introduced for the use of the patrons for the public access computers. And another important and very time-consuming accomplishment was applying for to the Canada Revenue Agency for charitable status in June. And hopefully, if that's granted, then there will be some opportunity to aggressively fundraise for future expansion. Some of our initiatives for 2026, we're creating and working on a memorandum of understanding between the town and the library board to outline mutual understanding, shared goals, and intended actions. And this will establish a common direction for moving forward. Another one is the development of new partnerships that could potentially aid in the expansion of the library. Another is the granting of charitable status. If that comes from CRA, it will allow the library then to register as a charity with Canada Helps in order to facilitate Canadians to donate and fundraise online. Another one is to implement a cloud-based mobile print service that will allow patrons to send documents, photos, emails to a printer from a smartphone or a tablet or computer using Wi-Fi. We are asking for an increase of $92,700 to the operating budget. This increase is based on the following impactors: staff costs as a result of cost of living, salary market adjustments, and movement through the salary grid. There's no changes to the number of our staff that we have. We have 6 full-time employees, 2 part-time, and 1 summer student. Another impactor was program and event costs have increased as a direct result of continued increase in our population and obviously the overwhelming program attendance. Another was a decrease in the draw from the development fees that collected that impacted everybody's budget. There's no funds available for us in our reserve. It's now been depleted. And we have increased costs in IT for our operations. We have done some strategies we've discussed that could reduce the budget. Unfortunately, these discussions have centered around the reduction of programs and events and reduced collections and reduced hours. And our mission is continue to be a vibrant, informed, and inspired leader in the community. And thank you for your deliberation. Any questions?
Okay, thank you for that. We appreciate you coming today and, heard the message loud and clear. Like I said, I think you do a lot with a little for a lot of people. It's a great resource for people, and I certainly could defend an increase to the library with, you know, I think that's a valid reason to increase for people because it serves a population that otherwise might not have access to these services, and I believe that's really important. So with that, Councillor, are there any questions for the chair or any, okay, not, Councillor Johnston?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to be clear, I'm not going to ring my button
Oh.
for every presentation, but I just wanted to reiterate what you just said or endorse what you just said. I was at the open house at the library a week or so ago, and I said to a number of staff and some members of council and board members, what you just said, Your Worship. To me, the library is a community hub, and this one certainly is. And they keep increasing the output from that library with the same level of staff. And so I just want to commend the board chair for an excellent job on behalf of the community. As I said, it's the hub of the community, and I agree with wholeheartedly, Your Worship, your comments about how important the library is. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, and while we have the opportunity to discuss the library, I think we need to acknowledge the volunteers, which is our board, and Councillor Hunter who sits on there, and also the volunteers who, you know, take away some tasks from staff and participate with some of the patrons there. So thank you for coming, and we appreciate 3 members of the library board coming today. So always good support for the library. So with that, we will move right along to the rest of community contributions. So when we said succinct, I think this is succinct. This is what we meant. Are there any questions about any other community partners, community contributions? Okay. So seeing none, we will continue on, and we will go to Office of the CAO. Mr. Lucas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Harkis-Laird and I will tag team this section, but I'll briefly summarize the changes to the overall department and hand things over to Ms. Harkis-Laird to discuss the HR specific elements. Our area begins on page 33, starting with the overall departmental increase and a description in essence of what our department or our area does for the corporation. Changes to this budget area are primarily driven by organizational restructuring in line with the service delivery review that was endorsed earlier this year, and specifically the move of the corporate communications function from the legislative services area to the Office of the CAO as part of that organizational restructuring. So the numbers here reflect that. This is followed by a description of a variety of accomplishments and initiatives planned for 2026 on pages 34 and 35. I won't go over all of them, as you're likely to hear about most of these initiatives throughout other presentations, which the CAO's office supports. So I won't reiterate a lot of those, other than to identify a couple of themes, including climate resiliency, municipal modernization, staying on top of ever-changing legislative changes, not the least of which is how we budget under the Strong Mayors legislation, and implementation of a variety of other council directives and plans which were listed in the council portion of this budget as well. So I think with that very brief overview, Madam Mayor, I'll hand things over to Ms. Harkis-Laird to touch on the HR piece. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor Lorenz and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the 2026 HR budget. For 2026, there are no significant changes to the HR portion of the budget. Increases are mainly due to staff-related costs. In 2025, HR had several accomplishments which are outlined in the budget package, but I want to take the opportunity to highlight one of the most significant in 2025, and that was the selection, purchase, and implementation of a human resources information system. We worked jointly with our finance colleagues on this project, and it was a project that included not only HR modules, but a payroll module as well, and it resulted in us changing our payroll system. This project touched every single person in our organization, staff, council, and volunteer firefighters, how we capture information, hire, onboard, pay, and was a significant change for this organization. For 2026, our significant goal is to continue to implement HRIS modules and streamline both HR and payroll processes to align with our new system. We will also begin preparing for new OPSU collective agreements that will expire late 2026 and early 2027. I will leave it there for now, as there is additional detail found in the budget package. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. Council, are there any questions for the CEO or Ms. Harkard-Laird? Okay, seeing none. All right. So over to Madam Clerk for Legislative Services.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to now introduce and provide a very high-level overview of legislative services for 2026. There are lots of accomplishments in 2025 that I'm very proud of my mighty team for completing. I'm just going to highlight a couple, but there is a lot more detail in the binder. In 2025, we conducted some council-directed policies as well as put in procedures to implement the strong mayor authorities that were provided to the town of Gravenhurst in the spring without any warning or notice. 2026 is an election year, so there was sufficient work done with the new voters list, which is now overseen by Elections Ontario versus MPAC, as well as in getting the changes that were adopted by Council of the Ward Boundary Review into those voting systems and to our GIS system to be prepared for the 2026 election. One I'm truly most proud of is the partnership with the Muskoka Discovery Center for being the administrative lead with the Public Arts Advisory Committee for the Public Art in Council Chambers and Town Hall project. It is a joy to be in this room that had so much investment, as well as have beautiful local art regularly displayed for the public and for council and staff. Another project I'm incredibly proud of from 2025 is the continued outreach and creativity of the communication specialists and the work done with very little investment but high level of creativity and collaboration to engage with our community in continuously difficult times as we lost the newspaper, as we struggled with postage strikes. The creativity and tenacity of our communication specialist was once again a successful year. Again, there's a lot more in there, but just keeping it high level. For 2026, again, there's a lot going to happen in 2026, but the biggest thing for legislative services will, of course, be the administration of the 2026 municipal election, including preparation for candidates, communications of the supports for our electors, organizing and hosting the inaugural meeting, and preparing all orientation for the new term of council. Some other high-level goals that I'm going to highlight will be the accessibility strategic plan, which is presented for consideration in the capital budget. The AODA put a mandate that all of Ontario would be completely accessible by 2025, and here we are at the end of the year, and I think it's fair to say that there are significant gaps throughout our community and at all levels. So the put forward is a proposal to do an accessibility strategic plan to really get a fine detail of what key projects of capital and systemic and those type of barriers to remove to support a truly accessible community. The implementation of the IT service review and strategy, as the CAO had identified, the corporate communications portfolio is moving to legislated services. The growth of the IT will grow in legislated services, which includes the hiring of a full-time IT coordinator, which was the recommendation of the IT service review and strategy. Throughout 2026 and 27, Gravenhurst will be working collaboratively with the District of Muskoka, the Town of Bracebridge, and our IT implementation partners to transition to a new MSP for IT services, and that will be a lengthy project as the level of intertwined services and contracts and agreements throughout our IT services is quite detailed in depth. And then finally, a recommendation from the Service Delivery Review, which is the initiation of a multi-year corporate-wide policy review to ensure that our policies, procedures are up to date, meet the needs of the organization and employees, and align with best practices. This project will be done in collaboration with the Human Resources Division and is a long overdue project to ensure that we are operating best practices efficiently and utilizing technologies and services to meet the needs of our customers, internal and external. That is the legislated services budget, and I'm happy to ask or answer any additional questions that council may have.
Okay, thank you. And I think would like just to say, good job on the strong mayor stuff. I think that was a bit of a dog's breakfast that nobody really knew, how to tackle, and you guys did a great job. And I appreciate the guidance that you've given me as the strong mayor. But I do want to say thank you because you've been a great resource for me, and thank you. So, Councillor, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Boy, we are just moving along. Now we're going to go over to financial services. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to present the financial services budget for 2026. I'll just focus on the key accomplishments for 2025 and also the key initiatives for 2026, and I'll also focus on the major shifts that materially impact our financial services budget for 2026. So just to look at the two major accomplishments for 2025. In 2025, we delivered a stable multi-year plan directly aligned with our asset management plan. Also, we modernized our internal controls and expanded some of the things that we did were expanded the digital AP workflow. We also updated our DC and Parkland policies in response to Bill 23. We also refined our lease and real property disposal processes. And we also implemented a new public sector standard that was specific to the revenue recognition criteria. In terms of key initiatives for 2026, one of the things that we'll continue to do, we'll continue working with the district and other municipalities to identify a new financial management software. This is one of our largest projects the finance department could undertake. And we have a placeholder in our 2027 budget for this system acquisition. One of the core limitations that our existing system is its inability to, support electronic delivery of tax bills. So we're hoping that this system will help to close that gap. Another key initiative for 2026, we're also looking at initiating the winter control maintenance reserve that will help us to stabilize year-to-year budget pressures and also help us to smooth the financial impact of unpredictable winter seasons. And from a significant cost driver perspective, our major impact was in terms of staff costs, and that was primarily due to staff-related costs, reflecting collective agreements, market adjustments, and grid movement. So that's it in terms of a high level for financial services. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you much.
Okay. Council, are there any questions for Mr. Campbell? Great. Wonderful. Now, Chief, over to you, Fire and Emergency Services.
Good morning, Your Worship and Council. As you know, it's not my strength to be brief, but I will try my best. I'm here to speak to you about our operating budget for the 2026 year. which is overall increase of 92,000 or 7.2% from our 2025 budget. What this represents is an indicator of that as much of our town departments, the fire department is no exception, and we're facing an extreme pressure in calls for service. Over the last 2 years, our calls for service have gone up 61%, and they've been sustained over 2 years. So what we thought might be an anomaly is not. And that, I know we could quickly turn to the 2 storm events, but if you take those calls out, we're still over 50% up in our calls. So our budget, our operating budget represents, as CAO alluded to, a balanced approach to what do we need to deliver our services at the expected level of our community, and how can we do it in a fiscally responsible way. So I won't go into too many details about 2025. I would like to highlight the top one and the bottom one. I already did highlight the bottom one about the number of calls. We're sitting now presently at 450 emergency calls with most of December to go. We did onboard a fantastic new fire prevention officer who joined my already fantastic team. I couldn't do it without the team. And all the things you see sandwiched between the top and the bottom, that is a result of their hard work. We accomplished quite a bit in 2025 over and above responding to all those calls, and I could not do it without my full-time staff or our volunteers. In 2026, we're looking at a couple of critical purchases. You'll hear more about in capital, but we're looking at putting a fire watercraft into our operations. We are strengthening our public education efforts. You're going to see a lot more Gravenhurst Fire on social media. We are hoping to purchase and replace our entire stock of self-contained breathing apparatus. We're looking at strengthening our firefighters' cancer prevention initiatives with the purchase of additional personal protective equipment, strengthen our communications network. We're continuing to build upon our in-house technical rescue training, which is part of the mandatory certification, which I'm sure you heard me speak of, which is we're going to see continued investment in mandatory certification. On that note, Gravenhurst is very lucky. Our fire department already possesses much of the required equipment to do the rescues that we say we will do in our bylaw. However, we need to fill the training gap, which is where the funding will go to. And we continue to build our fire officer development program. And where do the costs come from? As I already had mentioned, fire department staff costs, salary market adjustments, and also because we do our firefighter pay on a 3-year average with the two busiest years in our 150-year history, that's driven up our firefighter costs as well. A cost well worth the expense. And as I talked about, mandatory certification is driving the second increase there, the 11,760, as we train internal instructors so we can deliver our own internal technical rescue training and hopefully offer it to other fire departments, and we can all keep our mandatory certification costs low. So that's a very high level of what FES has been doing and what we hope to do. And thank you for the opportunity to present.
Okay, Councillor, are there any questions on the operating budget for the fire department? I'm going to go over to Councillor Strength. It's operating.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Chief Cayley. Can you tell us what you envision the watercraft to do? Am I allowed to ask at this point about the
I think that's capital.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're
Because
going
it's
to.
in the presentation, I just thought it was the appropriate time.
I would suggest that any
Capital?
capital purchases, because,
Stay tuned.
yeah. Okay, so I'll go over to Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Chief. Chief, my question is related to your point number 1 about the, about the fire prevention officer. And I think you may recall at the time you talked about that at council. I said that one of the things that I talked to a lot of municipalities about was one of the things that the Office of the Fire Marshal said years ago was that if you want to reduce the number of fires in your municipality, number one thing, hire a fire prevention officer. And so my question is, down at the, when you talked about the your other point, the 450 emergency calls, how many of those, if you know, are fire related?
I can tell you exactly, due to our RMS system that council approved a couple years ago. We have 41 of those calls are attributed to structure fire types, which was a big year for structure fires for us, but as you can see, out of 450 calls, it represents a small amount. So, and that's, while I have the mic, just to kind of address your question, we don't really have any type of call that we can focus on to, that's what troubles me as a fire chief, is how do we get our call volume down? It's just been a mismatch of emergencies this year. So, but no, our fire calls, they were a higher one for us this year, but still a small percentage of our overall calls.
Okay, and I'm just going to take a public service announcement and ask councilors to try and speak into the mic so people, and Councillor Johnston is Councillor Jorgensen is listening, so virtually, so it'd probably just make it a little easier. So, Councillor Hunter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I just have a question about the volunteer firefighters. So we have 50. Is there a maximum, and are we at it, or can we continuously take volunteer firefighters?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Hunter, we presently have no limit on firefighters contained in our bylaw. That was done so strategically at the last writing of our last approval when we brought our ENR bylaw towards council. Unfortunately, the volunteer fire service world, we never see a completely staffed. I am happy to say that our Station 1 is completely staffed. Station 2 is a few shy, but we're always recruiting for Station 3, so we kind of keep that as a floating number. Right now, presently, we have 53, but that could change. It does change week to week. So no, there is no set number.
Councillor Varney?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I guess my question is regarding the fire rescue watercraft. Was there a period of time that you needed the watercraft in something in the last little while and you were unable to help somebody out there? Is that the reason why we're requesting this? Thank you.
Councillor Varney, I think we're going to go back and talk. I imagine this is going to be quite a discussion at the Capitol. I understand it's in the language, but Chief?
The only reason, Your Worship, to the councillors asking the questions about the watercraft, it's contained and operating is because it's going to be a consumer of our time operationally to input it, like to bring it on board. So that's why it's mentioned in operating.
Okay, so there'll be plenty of opportunity to talk about the actual purchase at the Capitol time. So anybody else have any comments or questions for the fire department? Well, I'm going to take the opportunity to ask, or not ask my question, well, it's a question, yeah. So we have, I need the cheaters. In fire fees, I'm assuming that's fines and whatnot. My question about that is it's gone down significantly since 2023 and 2022, almost $20,000. And I guess that's, we're glad to see that. And I guess that is because of the work of the fire prevention officer and people not doing, maybe not being reckless with fires. Would that be the explanation for it, or have we waived some fees, or what's the explanation for that? To Your Worship, to answer your question, unfortunately, this year we have seen a rise in people burning illegally. We've seen our revenue go up in those invoices. We invoice for our fire vehicles and firefighters' time for those. The biggest loss in our overall revenue over the last couple of years is the fire service uses an indemnification company called Firemark. And Firemark goes and when we have a fire, we file the address with Firemark, and it's their job. They go, and generally, if you check your own insurance, you probably have this on your own insurance, your home insurance. It's a rider that accounts for fire service costs. It is over and above what a homeowner is paid out for their insurance coverage. But what we're seeing, and perhaps the biggest negative thing about it, is we're finding most of our structure fires, people don't have insurance. So for one,
we can't use our indemnification service. And secondly, what the insurance companies have now done have found loopholes to try to bill it back to the ratepayer who have already paid for it in their insurance costs. So we've been locked in, I won't say legal battles, but we've been locked in a few back and forth with insurance companies. But the biggest driver of that loss is the fact that most of the fires we're going to, where we can use that to recoup, we're not finding these folks have insurance.
Which I think is a whole other problem. I mean, you have to have car insurance and you have to have insurance if you have a mortgage, and you would think you would want to protect your biggest investment, but it's really unfortunate to hear. So with that, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to Recreation, Arts and Culture. Director Patterson.
Thank you. Through you, I'm happy to speak today about the Recreation and Culture 2026 budget, which you'll see is a decrease of $41,655 or 3.9% from 2025. That is mostly in part due to an increase in revenues we're seeing both at the arena and the Opera House. So the operation base really hasn't changed. Our revenues are just increasing. So some accomplishments of 2025 that I want to highlight. We implemented the return of theater to the schools, and several of you attended that day, which was an amazing day. And it's bringing the theater back to the students and the youth and engaging that group. In 2026, we're hoping to continue that as well. We expanded our ice use year-round at the Centennial Center at the arena, and it surpassed our expectations of usage. So we're really pleased with how that initiative turned out, something we're going to maintain again in 2026. We expanded our recreation and leisure program opportunities for all age groups, up to 99 or 100 if you want, from little wee baby, not quite babies, but 2. And in each of our 4 seasons that we program, we're seeing an increase of programs and actual registrations. So we're having less cancellations happening. We're seeing more people engaged, which is really good. And we've finalized our 5-year agreement with the YMCA, and that just happened a few weeks ago finally. So we're fine. We're in with them for the next 5 years. Moving to 2026, we will be finishing up the digitization of the Lions Sports Hall of Fame. We'll be starting that project in the new year. I'm just working on finalizing some of the final pieces before we get the digitization moving. We will be engaging with 2 new partners for live theater over the summer. We no longer have the partnership with Aurelia, but we have been able to be successful in locking in 2 new partners. One is Fosterfest through St. Catharines, where we'll be showcasing a world premiere of a new Norm Foster play. And the second is with Theatre by the Bay. They'll be bringing us Forever Plaid, the musical, so we'll be having 2 unique shows again coming this summer. We are going to continue, as we started this year, the Spirit of the Muskoka Concert Association. We started a saloon series. We showcased 2 shows this year, and they were both very well received, so we will look to continue that in 2026. And the bigger piece that we're working on for 2026 is I've been working with the YMCA for Gull Lake. We cannot maintain operating the waterfront with 3 lifeguards, which was we managed this summer, but it wasn't easy to do. And we won't be doing that again next year. I've put in the operating budget some funds to be able to pay for 6 lifeguards to become fully certified, and they would hopefully stay to work for us for the summer. The Y is going to work with me and match 6 lifeguards through their aquatic program. So we could potentially have a pool of 12 new lifeguards that would work between both us and the YMCA. So there's some funds in the budget to help support that initiative and help rebuild the programming at Gull Lake, hopefully. And like I said, we can't maintain again this year with just 3 lifeguards. And then a couple other small things to note. The 125 celebration is coming up for the Opera House, which we're really excited about. But you'll see in the first couple months of 2026, the Opera House will be very limited use as the elevator's being replaced. Some explanation of changes from my budget for this year. There's a lot attributed to just staff salary grid movement. And the largest piece, I have several here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I've lumped them together. It's related to the 125th. So you'll see increases in revenue from grants and increases in expenses to offset that throughout my presentation in the binder. The other only one that isn't related to the 125th, their salary, is the Opera House, and that's due to grants, not the Opera House, sorry, Winter Carnival, and that's due to some grant funding we received as well for that festival. And I'm going to leave it there if there's any questions.
Okay, council, are there any questions for the director? Councillor Johnston?
Thank you, Your Worship.
It's a bit of overkill, but I appreciate the sense of humor.
I tend to do that, Your Worship. I'm sorry. Just a question. Formalizing a network group. I like that idea, and I assume it's to try and enhance the delivery of various programs and so on. But I'd be interested in hearing from you. What is the priority? What are the objectives of that? I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
So we kind of started working on it this year. We're hoping to finalize it in 2026, but essentially we're looking to get all of our partners in the area together, mostly Gravenhurst, that offer programs or services to the community to make sure we're not overlapping evenings, overlapping age groups, making sure we're filling any gaps that we can fill in where there's things missing. So it's essentially bringing all those community partners together with us to make sure that we can provide as much service to the community that we can with little overlap. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's important. So thank you, and thanks for, bridging the gap between the YMCA and, our programming at the with the lifeguards. I think these partnerships are really important, and I appreciate our community partners for being willing to partner with the town. So good, that's good news. Okay, if there's nothing else, and thanks to your staff, and nice to see people are using the facilities and getting out and enjoying, what we have to offer here, because these are the wants, not necessarily the needs, and it's important for the community to support them because, they're tax supported, so you might as well get out and enjoy them. So see some of our Gravenhurst staff here today, and Opera House staff, and so always friendly faces to welcome you. So get out and see a show, and the tax burden goes down. So, okay. Now, with that, we will move right along to Development Services. Director Halford.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Good morning. I'm very pleased to present to you today a summary of the 2026 Development Services operating budget. So as you know, we've got 4 divisions, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank the managers from each of the divisions in Development Services for their hard work, not only throughout the year, but also on the divisional budgets. So thank you very much for that. I am here to present their hard work. So as you can see here, the 2026 recommended operating budget for Development Services is roughly $1.7 million, which represents an increase of 27.1% over last year. And we are going to go over the reason for that increase in a minute. But what I'd like to do now is take a few minutes to talk about the great work that our team was able to accomplish this year under your guidance and direction, of course. First and foremost, 2025 saw the adoptions of Council's very first Housing Action Plan, and in fact, it was the first of its kind in Muskoka, so well done. I'm happy to say that we are working on a number of implementation items as we speak, and more to come for next year. The Corporate Greenhouse Gas Emissions Inventory and Reduction Plan was also completed this year. It was a significant partnership project across all the area municipalities in Muskoka, working together to pool our resources and help address the climate crisis. One accomplishment from this year included the incompletion of some of the less high-profile projects, but no less important, would be the completion of the highest number of septic system re-inspections by our summer students in a single year. So well done to them this year. A placement of a long-term tenant in the Gull Lake Pavilion, and updates to several town bylaws, including the parking control bylaw, clean and clear, and property standards, as well as a number of housekeeping amendments to the comprehensive zoning bylaw. So that's just a few of the projects that the team worked on. In terms of what's planned for 2026, you'll see that every initiative on our list implements council's strategic action plan in one way or another. So first and foremost, although technically a capital initiative, the 10-year review of the town's official plan is slated to officially commence next year. This statutory review and update was planned for the capital reserves, and it's anticipated to take likely 2 years to complete. The reason I mention it is that it's going to take a significant amount of staff resources over the next couple of years to complete this project, and we're all really excited for it. Next, the economic development team will be leading another exciting project, which is the comprehensive review of the business improvement area, which will be informed by extensive public and business owner consultation and engagement. And our hope is that we can do this in tandem with the engagement exercises for the official plan, so we can get even more people out and then take that same information and direct it and do more with less, right? So that's the idea there. Although there are more items on the list, I do want to take some time now to talk about the main reason for the increase, the 27% increase in the budget for this year for this division. So as you'll recall, the service delivery review highlighted the need for a climate change coordinator type position within the town to champion and to lead the implementation of the town's climate change adaptation and mitigation plans. And while we have been able to achieve a small number of wins in terms of implementing some of the low-hanging fruit type initiatives, this position is needed in order for the town to take a coordinated and intentional approach to addressing climate change and the emergency that council declared. This position will be responsible also for corporate energy management and will help to coordinate that portfolio, which has not had as much attention as it's needed over the years. As you'll see in the chart on the slides, in order to help accommodate for this position within the budget, we have put a temporary pause on the planning co-op position, unfortunately, but this will result in no net new positions within the department. That being said, administration is hopeful to secure a grant for the first year of the operating of this position to help offset that cost to the organization. So we have yet to hear back on that grant. In terms of other significant changes from the 2025 budget, you'll see that our planning fees were also quite a bit lower than we had anticipated for this year. This reflects the current continued downturn in the development and construction market. And as we talked about at the last Planning Council meeting, staff will be bringing forward proposed application fee increases based on the results of the planning fee review that was presented to council last month. And so more to come on that. Similarly, the building department also experienced a significant reduction in the amount of building fees generated this year, which again is due to the current market, construction market and global uncertainty as it relates to the industry. However, we are proposing to transfer about half of that shortfall from the building reserve to help balance the impact, which is entirely what that reserve is for. All staff-related increases, as with the other departments, are related to the collective agreements, salary adjustment and market adjustments, and staff's movement through their respective salary grids. And last but certainly not least, I did want to draw attention to a couple of special projects planned for this year, some of which are funded through the MAT tax, such as innovative event sponsorship, beautification projects for our downtown and the wharf, off-season event attraction and facilitation, as well as something that we're really excited about, which is a new focus on marketing and promoting municipal hiking trails as part of our focus on attracting more active recreation-based tourism to the area. So that's a lot for 5 minutes, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And thank you for a great year and looking forward to another one next year.
Okay. Committee, council? Councillor Johnston?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment for the director and then a question. Excuse me. No one will be surprised that it's about the Climate Action Coordinator that I'm speaking about that. And the reason why, and you know this, Director, the reason why it's so important that we do this is twofold. Number one is that it's necessary. I mean, the impact of climate on the environment and our infrastructure is happening even more severe every year. So it's absolutely necessary. The other reason is that it sends a powerful message to the public. This is important. One of the things that the district chair said at the district budget meeting we had, which I thought was, it's resonated with me all my career. He said, most of the public are very understanding about tax increases or tax levels, as long as they understand why. What is it you're doing? And this is so important. So it sends a message that we're in trouble here, but we're bringing in the help we need. So I think it's very, very necessary. My question is, I happened to be talking to David Zilke the other day, who was the climate coordinator for Huntsville and Lake Bays, about another matter. But anyway, he raised this issue, and because I had mentioned to him that we're going to be discussing this at the budget, and his comment, Director, was simply that a lot has changed since he was hired a year and a half ago, and he said I would assume that the good staff in Gravenhurst are recognizing that, and when they, my question is, have we developed a job description or a process about hiring that individual at this point? Thank you.
Director Halford?
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship, through you to the councillor. Yes, a job description for the position has been created and evaluated through our processes, and should council approve the position, it is ready for posting based on best practices from a number of municipalities and the needs of our corporation, as well as this type of a position is in a number of municipalities our size. So I wanted to make sure that it was representative of that. So that's all been included in here based on a number of conversations that I've had from attending the climate conference this summer with representatives out, across municipal industry.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Lucas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to add to the importance and the urgency of that position, notwithstanding the fact that it was in our service delivery review, and I think certainly a need, but the financial tactic that's being used here this year is to have that offset by a grant. In the event that we don't get that grant, then we will likely be back in front of council at some point in year. But regardless, even if the first year is covered by a grant, it has to hit the levy at some point. So really just a financial tactic to try and keep the tax rate increase as low as possible for this week or for this year. But certainly the expectation is that this position will be available in the long term and hit that levy at some point when it's a bit more financially convenient, I guess I would say. So, but in the event we don't get that grant, I don't want to give the impression that it's that staff would say, okay, well, it's not, we can just push it to next year. We'll likely try and do some things internally and come back to council with some options in the event that we're not successful there. So there's urgency to it, importance, and obviously a future financial impact to be considered here as well. So.
Okay, anybody else have any questions about development services? Okay, well, I love to hear that you're excited about the official plan review. Some more planning nerds, yay. No, your team does a lot. I mean, you have a huge umbrella, so we appreciate everything that gets done in that department, and the staff certainly work hard. And I'm glad to hear from Councillor Johnston that, you know, when this, you will be out there talking how important some of these increases are to the general public. So glad to hear that you have support for this budget. So with that, I will move on to the infrastructure services, just a little department that, just a small group of people who do a lot. So Director Stacy.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good morning, Council. I am pleased to present today the Infrastructure 2026 operating budget, which is located on page 79 of your budget binder, if you're following along. This year, administration is recommending a budget of $6,246,636. This is representing an increase of $341,110, or 5.8% over 2025. I will note the percentage increase for this year, while lower than the three-year average typically brought from my department, it still represents the financial allocation necessary to sustain overarching service levels identified on pages 79 to 81 of your budget binder, with no planned reductions in service levels at this time. With a combined asset management value of $497 million, significant capital investment requirements, and a growing trend of development and planning pressures, this budget represents a responsible and timely addition of resources, building upon the team's capacity to manage internal and external service levels. And it provides opportunities for increased in-year maintenance of sports fields and playground features deemed necessary for safe play. Moving into accomplishments, amongst the various accomplishments that have been listed, I would like to highlight the infrastructure team leading the community cleanup efforts this year following two climate-related emergencies back-to-back, and maintaining those service levels despite the loss of two core public works facilities. These events showcase the department's strengths and commitments for this community, and many long hours were spent developing, revising, executing operational plans that were outside of normal operating conditions. I will note this budget has not been developed on the assumption that the town will again face the same climate experienced in 2025. Simply, if we did, we would be unable to meet the budget thresholds established by council. But new for this year is a small winter control reserve identified by our treasurer, and the ability to reference a suite of alternate operational plans that we developed through the two emergencies experienced this year. And we also have a backlog of equipment coming online, which has been in a bit of hiatus for 3 years. We're starting to see those equipments roll in. We have a new grader, which council purchased this January. We have a 1-ton dump unit that has been outfitted for small urban residential plowing, and our backhoe has been outfitted for winter control, all to make us more nimble and prepared for the upcoming season. Moving into the 2026 initiatives on page 82 of your document, council will recall the direction provided to administration last year, or this year, regarding the feasibility of creating an outdoor rec hub at the Wharf Sports Field. Unfortunately, other things got in the way and we weren't able to tackle that project earlier in the year, but staff have now advanced that direction, and we have a small working committee here at the town. And we're starting to review background material to support the initiative through the town's consultant. Conclusions from that background review was that it would also be good to perhaps do a mini master plan for Gull Lake, given there's significant change in use of that park and there's some overlap with the wharf. So there's nothing that's going to impact this budget, but just to know that there will be public consultation coming this year based on direction that we received from council earlier in the year. Again, this year, capital delivery will be a core focus for the department as we start new projects in 2026 and close out those projects from 24 and 25. Typically, the department can see 50-plus projects actively in a year. So certainly, we're a busy group. Should we be successful in attracting much-needed resources into the infrastructure department, we're planning a refresh of our engineering standards and our winter control bylaws as part of the work plan for next year. Staffing changes for 2026. Per the council-approved service delivery review, administration will be looking to hire a manager of engineering. This position will be key in assisting the director on capital program delivery and put the department in a better position to respond to development and planning pressures referenced earlier, which are currently impacting internal service delivery areas in other areas, placing strain on the whole team. Under the manager of engineering and in accordance with the service delivery review, another new position being requested is the role of the asset management coordinator. This position will have a key responsibility for inventorying our asset base following capital project closeout and will maintain a core focus on the needs, best practices, and reporting requirements associated with the asset management planning guide for municipal infrastructure. Explanations for significant changes for the 2026 budget. I'll go at a high level. Factors include a maturing wage grid, the addition of the two positions that I identified. Now, this budget doesn't include a full year salary. We've assumed that those positions will start later in the year. Year-over-year CPI increases stemming out of our contracted service arrangements. Increased labor and reporting demands as a result of the Municipal Consolidated Infrastructure Program. Increased labor and reporting requirements related to on-site and excess soil management. Increased occurrences of illegal dumping in our community, which is unfortunate. The continuation of the Goose Control Program, and general higher material costs in all service areas coming out of the pandemic and further being burdened by tariffs. And enhanced maintenance needs of specific park assets. That concludes my overview, Your Worship, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor, are there any questions for Director Stacey? Wow, okay. Well, you know, I'll take the opportunity to thank you. I mean, what a year. You know, we've actually passed the anniversary of the worst 3 or 4 days of my life. So, you know, professionally anyway. So I want to take the opportunity to thank your team for everything that you've done, that you do, and that I know it can be thankless, but you've got this council behind you, and we appreciate that your team are often leaving their families and going out in the darkness of night to keep our roads and our communities safe. So thank you to your team, and we will move on if there's no other questions. Okay, so I am going to just let the group know that, and for those who are watching at home and joining us virtually, we had planned on taking a 10:30 break, but I think what we will do is get through corporate administration and reserves, reserve funds and endowments next, get through those, and then go into the capital budget. So however that timing works, it should be around 10:30. It might be a little earlier, it might be a little later, but so just so everybody knows what my plan is. So, corporate administration. Okay, Mr. Campbell, back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'll just be very brief with corporate administration budget. So essentially, corporate admin budget is the financial bridge between the operating budget and the capital budget. And I'll focus on the major shifts and the corporate items that materially affect our long-term position. So just to look at some of the items that really were materially affect our position, I'll start with staff costs. You'll see a $100,000 reduction in staff costs for 2026. And of course, that reflects the realignment of a corporate placeholder that was used in 2025 to support a phased organizational changes. And in 2026, we are basically, this funding is now being directed to support the asset management coordinator position. OMPF grant, that remains our only unconditional, of course, grant and is likely a stabilizer. It's basically formula driven, and we've only seen an increase of $33,000 in this year. In terms of contributions to reserves and capital funding, council will only see a 2.175 levy increase allocated to contributions to capital reserves. Of course, this year we had a very constrained operating environment, and of course, we had to rebalance our operating target our capital target, which is historically 3%, and we've reduced that to 2.1% to basically moderate our levy impact. But of course, the 3% remains the direction of the future budgets, and of course, based on the updated asset management plan, we'll progressively move towards a 4% annual target to maintain appropriate life cycle funding. In terms of IT, our IT costs have increased by $81,000 in 2026. And of course, this increase reflects vendor licensing inflation, of course, personnel costs, a new software for engineering and public works. And just to highlight also, the increase also reflects the changes in the shared IT service model, including the anticipated exit of the Bracebridge Public Library. And of course, those fixed costs are, because of the anticipated exit, we are now showing the scenario of that anticipated exit. And of course, the fixed costs from that will be redistributed across fewer partners, increasing our per unit cost for those players who are remaining in that service model. The other item I look at is our investment income. There's a reduction of $50,000, and that's due to anticipated reductions in interest rates. And of course, the town earns investment income from both the operating and the capital sides of our budget. In operating, the returns come primarily from the high interest savings account, which we may see a decline in that in the upcoming year. But in our capital, our returns from we have a diversified portfolio, including fixed rate instruments and the one equity fund. And of course, that will be used to perform even when the ISA rates decline. So that's like a buffer to help the town against volatility. And in terms of internal financing, that increased by $620,000, and that reflects in repayment requirements for ongoing and new capital projects. So that's my high-level review for corporate administration, and I'm happy to answer any questions council may have. Thank you much.
Okay, Council, are there any questions for Mr. Campbell, Treasurer? Councillor Johnston?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the Director, through you, Madam Mayor, on the question of reserves, could you briefly, I know there was a table presented to Council some time ago, could you briefly summarize, Director, where our contributions to reserves are trending over the next 10, 15 years? And secondly, for the benefit of the public, just in very colloquial terms, provide an explanation as to why contributions to reserves in a municipal local government is so vital. I mean, I've often said to members of the public, it's like a municipal cookie jar. You know, if you don't have that money in there and you run into unexpected expenditures, oftentimes you have no choice but to go to the levy. So it's a vital tool, and I like where we've gone. As I said, I know there was a table, but those just two quick responses to those two quick questions, Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Councillor Johnston. So, of course, the reserves and the reserve fund schedule that provides the long-term picture of our financial capacity. And just to give you an overview of the trajectory in our 10-year projection. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So if you look at, where is it? Let's go to the. So we jump to the 10-year sheet. We see we continue on that 3% trajectory over the 10-year cycle, and of course that has been our contribution target for the next 10 years. And of course the intent is to in working with our asset management plan, which they recommended 4%. The intent is to basically phase in that additional 1%. To bring it to 4%, to help to moderate, to help with some of the capital requirements. So if you look at the 10-year trajectory, you'll see that 3% is our contribution target. And of course, like I said before, the aim is to increase that to 4%, basically in conjunction with what was recommended by the asset management plan. So The trajectory is looking quite stable. And of course, we'll continue to, of course, replenish that annually via levy contributions and, of course, internal loan payments and operating surpluses. So, of course, our intent is to really, our focus is really to keep, basically try to contribute to continue to eliminate external debt and try to basically focus on internal financing. And, of course, one of the ways we're going to do that is basically trying to maintain our levy target for the next 10-year trajectory.
Okay. All right. So, Council, are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. And I think we're sticking with Director Campbell for reserves, reserve funds, and endowments. Do I have that right? Great. Thank you.
All right, so as was mentioned before, the reserves and reserve funds schedule provides the long-term picture of our financial capacity. And I'll just focus on our reinvestment reserve, our health services reserve, and I'll look briefly at the overall trajectory reflected in the 10-year projection. So on the second page of the continuity schedule, once we adjust for outstanding project commitments, our 2025 adjusted balance will come to about 12.4 million. And of course, that will, after projection and inflows and outflows, it will come to be reduced, it will come to 10.7 after inflows and outflows in 2026. And this reflects a stable position given the scale of our capital program, and is supported by Council's continued investment through the levy. The 2.17 levy contribution to capital reserve in 2026 will help maintain our reserve stability, even in a constrained operating system. Now, just to focus on some of the key reserves, the community reinvestment reserve. If you look at on the bottom page, at the bottom of the first page, you'll see the audited opening balance for 2024 was $7.8 million. During 2025, the reserve saw significant activity, including contributions, internal financing, repayments, and major commitments. So after accounting for the 9.4 million in commitments, the adjusted 2025 balance for the community reinvestment reserve was down to 1.6. And of course, which becomes 2.7 by the end of 2026. And of course, the long-term financial plan anticipates ongoing replenishment through annual capital levy contributions, internal loan repayments, and operating surpluses. And I'll just look briefly at the health services reserve. Of course, the health services reserve that's dedicated to Council's health-related commitments. So the audited 2004 balance was 605. We basically started with $500,000, and at the end of 2026, we're at 627.26. And of course, if the conditions are not met for the health reserve, the reserve also allows Council's flexibility to redirect funds towards other health service initiatives. All right, so I'll jump quickly to the 10-year. Trajectory. So of course, the 10-year reserve fund and fund projection is what ultimately determines whether we can fund our capital needs without relying on new external debt. And of course, we see in terms of capital growth, the capital program increases from 13.7 million in 2026 to 15.46 in 2027, and remains in the 15 to 18 million range through the decade. And of course, we see the capital levy in 2026, there's a 1.5 decline compared to 2025. And of course, what really caused that was that we had to rebalance the reserve due to the constrained operating environment. And in terms of our assumptions, we remain conservatively optimistic in our assumptions. I'll just highlight one, of course, our investment return assumptions. That was modeled at 2.5%, and that was a prudent assumption. and that reflects our blended portfolio mix of fixed rate holdings and equity investments. So typically, we are pretty much stable despite a very tight, despite it as you get tight over the 10-year trajectory, but we are pretty much stable in our capital contribution target, and we hope to continue to maintain that financial resilience over the 10-year trajectory. And that's my high-level review for the reserve and the 10-year reserve trajectory. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Council, are there any questions for Mr. Campbell? Okay. So that brings us to the end of the departments and the sections of the operating budget. It is now 10:21, so we're a little ahead of schedule, which is great, so thank you to staff for presenting in a thorough but quick manner. And so I'm going to say we are going to take a 15-minute break, but I'm gonna round it up a bit so we can be back at 10:40, 19 minutes, so just a nice round number. So we'll see you back then. Okay. Now, welcome back, everyone. Thank you. So, we are rolling right into capital. And so I guess we did go through how this was going to operate. We're going to go over to Mr. Campbell. Is that, or are we going to go through the departments? Okay, so, okay, thank you. We did plan this. I guess Okay, perfect. So we'll go to the next page, Madam Clerk. I can't see. I'm just making sure that, sorry, go to the next, I think we'll go to this page, yes. So we'll go through each, just like we did for operating, we'll go through each section. We will start with bridges. Council, are there any questions about the capital projects for bridges? Oh, there's none in 2026. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like nothing in cemeteries. And then facilities, there are a number of items. I'm not going to read them all off to you. You all have it in front of you. You've had this for a month. There is several items on there. I like the looks of the surveillance cameras. Do we want to talk about any of those items in specifics? Okay, I am just going to add that I don't see a lot of fluff in here. I think these are all things that we can agree that we need. Like I said, the surveillance cameras, I think they're paying for themselves in public safety. I think that's a priority for me. Senior center sidewalk. So I this is a place where I could see that there could be some discussion. However, I don't see a lot of wiggle room here. So personally, but give everybody the opportunity. Great. So then we are going to furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Are there any discussions there? Any things you'd like to discuss further there? Okay. So we can talk about the multi-year projects here too as well. Thank you, Mr. CAO. For spending in 2026, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Any questions? Chatting? Nope. Okay. Anything in the future years for furniture, fixtures, and equipment? Nope. Okay. Fire. I suspect there'll be some conversation here. So I'll ask the question. I'll go back to Councillor Strength because she wanted to talk about this first, and Councillor Barney, you as well. So I will go to Councillor Strength first. Councillor Strength.
Why, thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Chief Cayley. So, Chief Cayley, could you just tell us what you envision the logistics of the watercraft will entail? I'm just curious, and I know that we recognized some citizens this summer, or in the latter part of the summer, who had helped in a water rescue, and they were very, very crucial. Their boats were very crucial to your containing a fire and putting it out. So I'm curious, will the watercraft that you purchase, will it be in the water? Will it be on a trailer and you'll take it where the need is? I'm just curious how you see yourself using, or how the department sees it being used.
Okay, Chief.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Strang. Thank you for the questions. Yes, the boat will be used to basically, hopefully take the place of, depending on good neighbors. It is not, I will repeat, it is not a fireboat. It is not a, it doesn't have a pump on it. Basically, it is a Zodiac-type boat with aluminum hull. It is transportable by 2 firefighters. It's very versatile. How we're looking at using it is on our more remote access, smaller lakes. And just to be 100% transparent with council, up until this year, we have had, I will say, a smattering of incidents that required us to have water access, and we have depended on the goodness of our citizenry to help us. This year, as it just seems to be the want of 2025, set a record for water access only calls for us. We utilized our agreements with our marinas, which we have in place, which I would also like to highlight that always can happen if they're busy. 9 times this year. I think the last, in my time, in almost 5 years here, I think we've used them twice. We also had a couple multi-day calls on islands in Cashew Lake. And then referring to the call you speak of where we did honor those folks who were good enough to help us, what really brought it home the need for this vessel, it's not an increase in service, it's a strengthening of the services we offer. And what I mean by that is I was contacted by phone by our incident commander on the call on Silver Lake, and he said to me, Chief, we have no way back. So the 3 vessels that had helped had decided to leave and we weren't sure if they were coming back. So I, at that point, as a fire chief, had no way to get my folks back immediately if we were needed. So that is where the need comes from. It'll be a boat housed on a small trailer, and the entire capital program covers the boat itself, the trailer, and the training, and the Canada Transport required training. So no, it's a small vessel. It has a payload of about 3,200 pounds, so we can carry a couple small pumps and 6 firefighters in the required gear, like a small landing force, and then it can shuttle back and forth as well. So that's the logistics of it, and that's how I foresee it being used.
Okay, Councillor Varney.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think Chief has explained it fully for me as well, and I can see why it is absolutely essential why you're asking for this. I think it's really important. I think more and more people are coming to their cottages and spending longer times there, and obviously this is something that for the future you'll definitely be using, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so there are a number of items within the fire budget. That was merely one. Is there any other questions about total fire capital spending for this year? Okay. And then the subsequent years? Any that you have any questions about? Okay. I have a question. Communications and technology upgrades. I think I remember the town of Gravenhurst investing quite a bit in a new sort of communication system. Is that, am I wrong about that, or within this term of council anyway? And is this complementary to that, or is this something different altogether?
Your Worship, thank you for the question. I actually had that written down on my preparatory material. So yes, you do recognize this. This is the 3rd and final phase of what I would call a rotational capital investment. So prior, and this was also recommended in our master fire plan, prior to the first year, so this is the 3rd year Council of Seen Communications Improvement Capital. This encompasses the last pieces of our communication equipment. We didn't have a replacement schedule A lot of our equipment is no longer serviceable. We can't buy parts for it. It can't be replaced like for like. So we basically looked at, talking to industry specialists, looked at how we could break down replacing all of our communications equipment in a more responsible over a 3-year way, and then going forward in the future, replacing that on a recommended schedule. So yes, you have seen this before, but this is replacing different items, and this represents, and I'm very happy to say if council, if this budget should go through, all of FES's radio equipment will have been replaced and will be ready for the future. It can be repaired, it can be replaced, everything we need it to do.
Okay, thank you. So, council, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll go to fleet. And so you will see that with the fleet for this year, 7 items, 1 being a 3-year investment purchase. Any questions about the fleet? I've got one. So the 1-ton dump truck, so we start saving for it this year, and then 2 more years of that. When do we actually see it put into service? Is this just so we can place the order, or basically by agreeing to this, are we, because I know we can't really hand tie the next council. So how does that work?
Through your worship, that 3-year $150,000 that's been identified, that's 3 units. So in this year would be the full purchase of 1 unit, then perhaps next year we would do another unit, and then perhaps the year after that we would recommend another unit. These are units that you heard me speak in my operations update. We've started to put sanders and plows on them. We find they're a bit more nimble in some tighter locations, especially some of our more dense subdivisions. And we also see some areas in town that would benefit from a smaller type unit as this. And perhaps at some point we take on some of our contracting work back. But that was 1 unit for this year and 2 more units in further years.
Great, thanks for clarifying that. So, any other questions on the multi-year? Nope. Boy, what an easy group to please. Good. Okay, so information technology. So there are 3 items for 2026. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, any questions or comments on future years? Okay, seeing none. Moving along to parks. 2 items in 2026. Wharf dock replacement. Wharf gazebo. Okay. No, anybody, anything for the future years? Okay, seeing none. Roads. Just a bit of money being spent on roads this year, total. Okay. Anybody have any questions about the roads? I think we all recognize that roads have to be done. How about future years? Well, I'll just say that I am pleased to see the some big expenditures in 2027 that have been a topic of conversation for me over the last few years. One is Loon Lake rehabilitation, which I know is of great concern and to the folks out in that direction, and so I'm glad to see it's still on target for 2027. You're not making a liar out of me, because I think that's been the plan. It's been moved in the past, so I'm glad that it's sticking there. And also James Street reconstruction. So I know that there's been some talk about how we can see some improvements on James Street coming up in the future years. So the people watching who are concerned about those, as far as we can see, they're one more year to go, so appreciate their patience. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Seeing none. Special projects. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 special projects in 2026. Anybody have any questions or? We'll just have a couple comments if now's the opportunity. I think that, again, there's a couple items on here that I think are pretty exciting. As always, community improvement plan is a big one. The shops on the boardwalk phase 2. So whenever we hear, we need to revitalize some of these spaces. I mean, the effort is being done to do that. I think this is good. This is good news stories. It does obviously cost money. We also have an e-bike rental program, which I think will help people get around. We talk about a lot of the time connectivity between the wharf and other areas of town, the downtown, and with an e-bike rental program, I think that that's a pretty good solution. Maybe not for everybody, but I think it's a good news story. And the Kayak-O-Mat, really exciting. So I'm going to go over to Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, my question is about the Kayak-O-Mat, or however you say it. Is that still planned to be put at Gull Lake Park? Because I know there's some things are shifting from there. And also, do we know how the kayak rental place did this year? And will they be moving or not coming back? So those are my 2 questions.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, through you to the councillor. So this year, or in 2025, we had anticipated purchasing the Kayak-O-Mat for Gull Lake, but then we were able to help incubate a small business by putting in, or by allowing the boat rental to go in there, and they were very successful, and I think they are planning on returning for next year. So the Kayak-O-Mat would be, we're looking at putting it at a different location, not at Gull Lake, to try and encourage more people to use different, and to take the pressure off of Gull Lake and get people out exploring different public boat launches in Gravenhurst. So we're looking forward to the program and, moving it to help keep that new small business going, and then moving it to another location.
Councillor Varney.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. My question is regarding the e-bike and the kayak. The insurance, does the town have insurance, or does each person who rents an e-bike or a kayak, do they have to show that they have insurance, Director, as far as renting these, a kayak or an e-bike? I mean, I can see some people renting e-bikes and not really feeling comfortable on them, and maybe, I'm not sure who this question should go to, but as soon as I saw that, I'm thinking, gosh, I wonder if they have insurance, or does the town have to cover them? Thank you.
Director?
So in this case, as it relates to the franchise provides the waivers. So through the Kayak-O-Mat, it will be an automatic thing, and it would be dealt with through that. So it's a franchise that comes in and deals with that. Same with the Gull Lake. the operator there now, that's dealt with through them. And for the e-bikes, same thing. We're looking at when you sign up to rent the bike, you read the waiver and then you sign off on that. Yeah.
So use at your own risk, essentially. Take responsibility for your own actions. Okay. So, some interesting things there. Future years, any discussion about future years? Okay. And then a total capital projects of 13,703,000 and 0 cents. So, but then we have new capital projects. Keep going. No, that's it. Okay. Oh, those are just, I understand how it's, yeah. Great. So, where do we go now, Madam Clerk? Okay, so, council. Can't believe how efficient we are. Amendments from council. Councillor Jorgensen has one. Should we bring him on the screen? Councillor Jorgensen, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, it's boy. Are you in an empty room?
Yeah, it's a big empty room, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so it's okay.
So I won't talk much.
Okay.
I do need a seconder for this motion, and this is for our municipal. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
So I'm gonna read it, and then we'll see if
You're
you
gonna
have a
read it,
seconder.
okay?
Okay. So
Okay, thank you.
it is moved by Councillor Jorgensen. Whereas seconded by Councillor Strength. Whereas the 2026 Municipal Heritage Committee Work Plan approved by the Municipal Heritage Committee, MHC, included additional heritage signage to support tourism in the town of Gravenhurst, and whereas the proposed MHC operating budget is currently limited to $12.50, and whereas the MHC passed a motion at their November 11th, 2025 meeting to request the additional funding be added to the 2026 operation budget to a maximum of $31.50. Therefore, be it resolved that an extra $1,900 be allocated to the MHC operating budget to fully implement the work plan. And finally, the $1,900 increase be funded from the municipal portion of the municipal accommodation tax reserve. So no increase in levy. So I think that's pretty easy to get on board with. But anyway, I'll ask if there's any questions from members of council on this.
I guess we need a seconder.
Yeah, Councillor Strength seconded it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, any questions for the mover, seconder, or staff? No? Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor of that, please vote. Okay, and that carries, Councillor Jorgensen. So, thank you. Okay, and there's another motion. Okay, so there currently no seconder, whereas the Gravenhurst Accessibility Advisory Committee has recommended to council to investigate the feasibility and the installation of handrails at the Gravenhurst area. Arena. Therefore, be it resolved that $35,000 be added to the 2026 capital budget to install handrails at the Gravenhurst Arena seating area, and that $35,000 be funded through Capital Reinvestment Fund. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Morphy. Okay, Councillor Varney, you'd like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Accessibility Committee actually is trying to complete some areas that definitely needs accessibility for our citizens. And there've been two areas where handrails are their concern, and one is the arena, which has been on their list of needs for quite a few years, actually. Two members who've been on this accessibility committee for many years have been asking for this. And Director Stacy has got this allocated, actually, for something that he can handle. And just for the public, because I know the public has been asking about handrails at the Gull Lake Park, but that is something that I think we need to look into further in the future. So I'm hoping that, that the council will agree to this. There are, as I say, a lot of areas that are needed for accessibility, and I'm thinking that this is one that is definitely needed. So thank you for letting me speak.
I am just going to go to the director because I don't believe this is allocated for at the time.
Through you, no, it's not currently in the budget, no.
Okay, so there's no allocation. Councillor Morphy, did you want to speak to it further? Okay, so let's have a discussion about this. So $35,000 adding to the budget. Now is the time to discuss it. Nobody wants to tackle it. I'll put my 2 cents in, maybe kick it off. I guess what I would say is I've been looking at arenas. I mean, the new arena at in Bracebridge doesn't have railings all the way up to the tops. I mean, there are designated areas aside for accessibility. You know, the first rows, and then there is an allocated area where people with walkers and wheelchairs, there's designated seating, I believe, in most arenas for this purpose. My concern is arena steps are generally quite steep and quite hard, and do people generally with accessibility problems, should they be climbing to the top of the arena seating? Is that a safe thing for us to encourage them to do, thinking with our liability hat on? So those are just some of my thoughts on it. Because if I had a cane or a walker, I think I'd stick to the ground level in an arena setting. If those areas are already marked off. So those are just my thoughts on it. Again, this is a recommendation from the Accessibility Committee. It is an add in the budget. So I will go to Councillor Strength. Councillor Strength, any comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I feel like we've talked about this for a long time. I don't know how the arena came to be without these hand railings. And so my question would be, does the $35,000 get a hand railing for every set of stairs that's in the seating in the arena? Do we, like Madam Mayor said, do we need a railing for every set of stairs, or could it be just the first two or something like that? I'm not really sure what the $35,000 would get us. And if that would satisfy the conversation, if people would be happy with just two sets of railings. So I'm just sort of spitballing as I go along. I just know that we definitely have talked about this endlessly, and we should do what we can do to end the conversation and make people happy.
I'm going to go to the director.
Through your worship, to Councillor Strength. I guess the catalyst for this, and I agree it's been a topic of discussion for many budget cycles now, was do we need to do them? And to satisfy the building a code of the day, no. We do have accessible viewing areas and wheelchair platforms at the arena already. The intent would be, if we did something like this, is we would make the entire arena staircases accessible with a handrail. But really, to the catalyst of this question was, are we compliant? Yes, we were. If we were to do it today, we'd have to meet a different set of rules, which we're not going there right now, but the $35,000, if approved, would net a railing down every single stairway in the arena.
Okay, does anybody else want to comment on the subject? I mean, a lot of people see a lot more arenas than I do, so, okay. Okay, Councillor Varney?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm bringing this forward because this has been an ongoing request from the Accessibility Committee. The committee, the members of this committee have been sitting on this committee for many years, so they're the ones that have been continually asking for this. These are citizens who do not actually have accessibility problems. They're just older, and they find that climbing the stairs, they don't need to take up the spaces that people with accessibility problems would use. They are attempting to get to the top, and I know myself from wearing bifocals that sometimes walking up steps that are maybe higher than normal. This committee actually went to the Gravenhurst or the Bracebridge Arena and felt that the stairs were a more accessible height. They came back and still are complaining about the height of our stairs at our arena. I don't believe that they're suggesting that the railings have to be at every stairwell. I think what they're asking for is something, perhaps maybe at two of them, that they could see themselves getting up to the top level, that they could sit at the top level. So I'm really speaking on behalf of the committee. I don't get to many arenas myself these days, so I'm not finding it difficult because I don't go to them. But I am really speaking on behalf of the committee, and I just feel that because they've been asking this for such a long period of time, that obviously they feel that there's a need, and we do have problems in this town with accessibility, and it's not just with walking, but with seeing as well, which then, you know, if there were handrails to get to the top. Yeah, so I'm trying to defend it on their behalf, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, but thank you. And I don't feel maybe that it has to be $35,000. I think that, I don't know, Director Stacy, if we could consider a less amount to make it for the railings, not to be for the whole arena, that there would be a section, that there could be one set of railings that would take these people and satisfy their need. Thank you.
Mr. Lucas, somebody who doesn't get into the arena enough, I think.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think there's some confusion about what the actual need is here, which I'm not sure has been fully established. I think the $35,000 represents a full suite of railings on every aisle. I'm not sure it's been established what the actual need here is, or whether it's been evaluated whether railings logistically fit on the aisles. Some of them, all of them, whatever the case may be. So the thing that I wanted to mention here was procedurally, in the absence of clarity, because we haven't really had, we don't really have council direction to even investigate the need. I know it's been a conversation for a long time around the table, and certainly at the Accessibility Committee, we've really not had even the direction to really investigate for whatever reason. So we're kind of challenged with designing this on the fly here today. What I will say is that procedurally, in this case, the money is supposed to come from a reserve. which would not impact the levy here today, which then means that that could happen in year. It doesn't necessarily need to happen today. It could if that's council's wish. But when we don't really know what the design is or the actual need is, it's challenging to design the solution here today. So I guess I just wanted to offer the procedural option of dealing with this at a later date when the need is more clear, if any, because again, the financial strategy around this would be to have it funded from a reserve as opposed to affecting the budget here today. So.
Councillor Johnston?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Just to CEO Lucas's comments, we don't need to put the resolution back up, but when I read the resolution, I thought it said, you know, that staff was directed to do a study on development need, because I agree with you totally. If it didn't, it didn't. But I agree with you. I'm not convinced that we need to blanket the entire arena with railings. I'm convinced of that. We don't need that. But let's find out what we do need. The fact that it's not going to impact the levy, my comment earlier to the Director of Finance, you know, reserves should be treated precipitously as well, because if you take the money out for something that's not necessary, it means we can't use it somewhere else. So I think some sort of analysis, as the CEO said, about how many we need and where is more appropriate. I'm not prepared to blanket the arena with railings. Thank you.
Councillor Morphy?
Pardon me. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the clerk. We do have procedural bylaws about bringing something back. So would Councillor Varney, should this not go through, have a requirement to wait 6 or 9 months, or does she have the possibility to withdraw and bring it into another council meeting?
Madam Clerk?
Yeah, thank you through the chair to Councillor Morphy. If let's say the motion was tabled, voted, and defeated, just hypothetically, the Councillor Varney could bring back a substantially different motion. So the motion that you see in front of you just says $35,000 be added to the 2026 capital budget to install handrails at the Gravenhurst Arena seating area. Let's say hypothetically that was defeated. Another motion could either be tabled immediately after or another meeting to say do a feasibility study of the installation, because that is different than installing.
Okay, so I have a question. Is any two councillors able to withdraw the motion? That's my other question. So the motion belongs to the table. Is there anyone who wishes, or I'll ask Councillor Varney, would you like to withdraw the motion, and then we can talk about, you know, asking staff to analyze the situation?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Okay, I will withdraw the motion, and hopefully we could put forward a new motion regarding a feasibility study for handrails for a portion of the arena, not for the whole arena. Yeah, thank you.
So I think the seconder will second that. Okay, so before we discuss another motion about feasibility, I mean, is this something we can just, I mean, not pop in the work plan, but it sounds like, I realize it's not nothing to ask the infrastructure department and facilities to sort of look at this, but is this something that requires funding in a budget for you to go and bring us a report on this sort of thing, or is this, so Director?
Through you, Your Worship, I've already done the feasibility analysis of it. I did that this year. So perhaps it'd be best that I bring that information and I put it in a covering report so that council has the entire story. But as far as the feasibility analysis, that work's been done.
Has it been shared with the Accessibility Committee?
Through Your Worship, no, it has not. I received it fairly recent, November of this month, November 25th. I had it in anticipation of maybe it might come up during budget meeting, but here we are. But I can take it back to the committee as well and work through them if that's, and that may be the cleaner way of doing things than trying to put emotions on the fly.
You know how I feel about that. Okay, so I think we have a motion to withdraw the motion from the mover and seconder. All in favor of withdrawing the motion? Okay, and that carries. So the Accessibility Committee can look forward to seeing that information. So thank you. Okay. Are there any other amendments to the budget today? Wow. Okay. So I guess that means that I don't get to veto anything. I'm just kidding. I don't think I wouldn't have done that anyway. Oh. Okay, so in accordance with section 284.164 of the Municipal Act, I, Mayor Lorenz, will not be vetoing the past council amendments. Okay, that seems very official. So thank you, Madam Clerk. Back to all the work that's gone into the strong mayor stuff. I appreciate it. And okay, and because I did not veto anything, we will not require the council override section of the meeting, which I like that too. So thank you. And Madam Clerk, am I allowed, before I read this, should I provide my closing remarks and offer some time to Mr. Lucas, or is that before the confirming bylaw? So, Mr. Lucas, I'll give you an opportunity to speak to the group.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fairly briefly, I had started with some thanks in my preamble before today's proceedings, but I did want to again thank Mr. Campbell and his team, Teresa and Rob, and all the rest of the finance team, as well as the senior leadership team for all the work that went in, and their respective teams as well, for all the work that went into the package that you saw before you today. I like to think that the efficiency of the day today and the effectiveness of it had something to do with the heavy lifting that was done by the finance team and the team across the entire town of Gravenhurst. So I really, really appreciate that. Certainly to Mayor and Council for your speaking of the efficiency. I think it probably also had a lot to do with the preparedness that you came to the table with, and the enthusiasm and the questions and clarifications that occurred throughout the process. So I appreciate all of that in making today as efficient and effective as it was. And at the end of the day, this is really the biggest annual policy decision that Council makes. So I really appreciate the work that's gone into preparing for today and making it as quick and as effective as it was. So with that, Madam Mayor, I'll stop and hand things back over to you, and appreciate all the efforts across the entire organization. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to thank the same group of people, obviously. Mr. Campbell, thank you for your first solo budget. We appreciate your leadership and that of your team, and Teresa and Rob. And, you know, I know that every department member has something to do with it, whether or not it's printing the binders and, you know, keeping us on track with the daily stuff while people focus their efforts on the budget. And that goes for all the departments. I want to appreciate staff's efforts to make this, you know, not a 12% year, so thank you for that. I know that there was some significant decisions made as to what we could do and what, recognizing that times are tough for people, but what really needed to be done without cutting out some of the fun stuff. So I think the fun stuff, like I said, the cultural events, the recreation, and the, the niceties that we talked about during the capital, those are what makes this community great, and I hope that people really get out and enjoy them. And it's not easy what you all do every day. So I want to thank senior leadership team, and I want to thank every employee for their contributions to this town. Really proud to be the mayor here. Really proud to be in this building with all of you people, and I think you do a great job for the people of Gravenhurst, and just want to thank you. So thank you. And to council, I want to thank you. I hope that you can all be proud of this budget. You've had every opportunity to add input, to take things out, to add things if you wanted. I realize you can say it's my budget, but I hope that you will defend the increases at the library, the climate coordinator, the boat, for the fire department, to make things easier for other people and safer. I really hope that you can get behind this budget and, and I think it helps our staff too, to know that council believes in this budget and believes in the work that they're doing. So again, so with that, thank you to you. Thank you for your time and effort in preparing for today, and I appreciate you. So with that, statement from Mayor Lorenz, I guess, put this in the paper. With the conclusion of the tabling of the mayor's budget, council amendments, mayor's veto, and council override, the 2026 Town of Gravenhurst budget is deemed passed. So with that, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-88 to confirm the special council meeting held on December 9th, 2025 be passed. Please vote. Yep. That carries. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hunter and Councillor Strength. All in favor? Please vote. And that's a wrap. Thank